You have to have your own life and be interesting on your own accord. And do not lean on dating to bring you new friendships. The best way that I found to make friendship is really through community. You're listening to the Soul Whispers podcast. This is your guide to break out of your fears, follow the path that lights you up, and come home to yourself. I'm your host, certified life coach and soul whisperer, Jen Sway. Before we begin, know that wherever you are in your journey, you can trust yourself. You're being divinely guided, and your life is meaningful. Now, let's start the show. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Soul Whispers podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jen Sway. I'm a certified life coach, soul whisperer, as well as a certified RTT hypnotherapist. And as a soul whisperer, a lot of what I do is helping bring people back into alignment with their true self. And this oftentimes happens after a spiritual awakening, which is really like those moments of breakdowns of why am I doing what I'm doing? Who is it that I really am? Like, what is it that I actually want? Because this is not what I thought life was going to look like. This is not actually bringing me happiness, right? So it's helping you answer those questions. And one of the biggest challenges that I see people go through is finding aligned friendships and community, especially as an adult. So that's what we're talking about today in this episode, which is in alignment with season 2, all about relationships, how to have them, create them, and maintain them in a way that's aligned to you. One thing that comes out of having this spiritual awakening or breakdowns or whatever you want to call them is really this questioning of why are you friends with the people that you're friends with? And I've worked with people who are kind of starting from scratch where they don't really have any friends to begin with, and they're also on this journey to try to figure out who it is that they are. I've helped people who are in friend groups who are already in communities, but then they're not really the most aligned people. They don't really resonate with them. They don't feel like they fit in. They don't feel like they're liked, or there's just too much drama, too much habits and drinking or whatever that's going on that doesn't feel aligned to them anymore, but they're not sure how to transition out of that, how to create new friendships. They're dealing with the fears and anxieties that come with leaving their community that they're in. I see this in people, whether it's religion or family as well, and things are not aligning there, and they're wanting to feel seen, they're wanting to feel supported in a different way that's not what they're used to. And as per usual, I have my own personal experiences of navigating friendships that felt like they were being held out of obligation, out of because, it's not good to burn bridges, out of, you feel bad for them or they need you. And now being in a place that I have been in for many, many years now that I'm so grateful for, to have incredible friendships that are so supportive, that I feel seen in, that, feel really aligned to me. And more recently, kind of going back into finding communities that really resonate with me. Because after college, honestly, community was really the people that I was close friends with. And it was me bringing all of my friends together that kind of built up my own personal community. And I found a lot of value in also being part of a community that exists kind of in its own space, which I know a lot of people also struggle with finding. Now, before we talk about how to create friendships and find communities that are aligned with you, let's talk about what not to do and where you're not going to find friends that are good for you, aligned with you, and build a community around. And that is through dating. This is what I have seen most people do as adults when they move to a new city, or they didn't go to college, or they're making a shift and they're trying to create new friendships and enter new communities, is that they do so by trying to date people. Unless you're actually trying to create a meaningful romantic relationship with somebody and you're wanting that type of connection, do not lean on dating to bring you new friendships and to weasel your way into existing communities or friend groups. That is like the worst thing to do. If this has worked for you as a strategy to use dating to find friendships and community, then cool. But I would not recommend this as a strategy because, one, you are mixing intentions and that's always going to come weird. You don't want to be that person who's like, oh, we're only friends with them because they're dating this person and, they're trying so hard to be friends with everyone else, right? Like, you don't want to be that person whose entire friend group is your spouse's or your partner's friend group either. And the reason why you don't want to be that person is not because it's inherently bad, but because you're not going to actually develop your sense of self, and it's not a genuine expression of who it is that you are to do it that way. It's also a bad idea because if you're the person who had just moved to a new city or transferred jobs, transferred schools, whatever it is that has you in this new situation, and you're trying to use dating as a strategy to create new connections with people, you're already in such a vulnerable state that you might just latch on to the first person that you find connection with, or not even connection with, but just because you know somebody in that city and you don't want to be alone and there's all this fear that's there and anxiety that's there, you might latch onto people and communities right off the bat that aren't actually aligned to you, rather than being patient because you feel grounded in yourself, knowing what you're looking for, and then finding those people, finding those communities naturally. Now, the nice thing about me living in LA is that I feel like LA is such a big city where there is every single type of person out here. There is a community for every single person, whatever interest that you're in. The thing is, you just have to put in the effort to actually go find those communities. These people are not just going to come to you and find you. Like, of course, energetics matters here and magnetism is a real thing. And you might just spontaneously, serendipitously find yourself in situations of meeting people that are aligned with you and resonate with you. However, I would not bet on that just happening out of the blue. You're going to need to learn how to be resourceful in yourself and be grounded in who you are so that you can actually go and find these communities and be part of them. For me, most of my close relationships are from school, and that's going to be from mostly college and then a few from high school. The other close relationships that I've cultivated as an adult have come through my creative pursuits as well as my business. One of my soul sisters I met through my podcast, where I was looking to be a guest on other people's podcasts that fell line, and I landed on hers. So we instantly connected and we both felt like, okay, we want to continue staying in contact. And it was a slow blooming relationship where it was a very deep connection, but we didn't have much touch points because we lived in different cities. However, because of technology, right, we're able to meet on Zoom, or hey, when she was visiting San Diego and, I was in the same place, we could meet up, or hey, we're going to be up in the Bay, like, let me see if I can stay with you for a little bit, or come and get some tea together. It's these types of relationships that you'll find more often in adulthood, where if you're not part of a specific community first, then this is going to be more of the natural pacing to build these friendships. You're going to want to be a lot more patient with these people, and just know that if your number one goal right now is to build friendships, then that's also going to come with some time, and you need to be patient with other people because like everyone, they have a lot of things going on, especially as an adult. It's kind of like dating, right? Where the alignment has to be there, where you both have to be open to putting an effort into a new friendship, and you find people who have common interests with you. One of my other soul sisters I've met through a mastermind that I did for my business, and we were in the same group program for a little bit. We had seen each other's comments, we liked each other's energy, and then when we saw that we were both in this mastermind together, we were able to meet in person at the event and build connection there. Since they're also in California but not in the same state, we're also able to slowly build connection by meeting up when we're in similar areas. And because we're both coaches and building a business, we're also able to maintain connection by offering each other coaching. We would trade coaching with each other. And again, a really deep friendship that was created, a deep bond that was created that you just don't see very often, and you have less touch points than, say, somebody who lived in the same city as you. The best way that I found to make friendship is really through community. Now, some of the ways that I have not been able to create any friendship with, even though we live in the same city, are through little things like dance classes that I go to on a semi-regular but not consistent enough basis. Because I'll go to dance maybe once a week, sometimes every other week, other times. Sometimes I'll take months in between. So those are not going to be the places where I'm going in with the intention to meet a friend and latch onto them and try to build a connection with. Have I created cool connections and follow people on Instagram because of dance classes? Yes. However, have those become friendships? No. I also have not created friendships from going to meetup groups or random social events in the wild. Have I met people who have become clients or maybe has spurred ideas for collaborations professionally? Yeah, sure, but have any of those became friendships? No. Absolutely, you can find connection in any scenario that you go into. However, if you're looking for a friendship, for a bond, then you're going to want to find this through community. When I reflect back at how I created all the friendships that I have in my life, it was because of community. And the thing about community is that you have to genuinely be a part of these communities. For example, I'm at Tia Shiloh a lot, right? It's a tea house in downtown LA that's super vibey. It's like 100% my speed, my type of vibe. And I've been part of that community now for a year, being able to offer tarot there on a regular basis twice a week. And because I've been there so often on such a regular basis, I see a lot of similar faces. I've been able to create friendships and connections with these people, with the hosts that work there, with the founders of it. And so I feel very much so part of their community. However, am I the best of friends with every single person who works there? No. Am I hanging out with all these people outside of these contexts? No. Have I, for some of these relationships, hung out with them outside of the tea house? Yes. Have I invited some of these connections to my own personal gatherings? Yes. And those people who do come, those are the people that I consider, okay, now we have a deeper friendship here. Like, you have way more chances of actually finding an aligned friend with you if you go to a gym on a regular basis on a consistent schedule, and you can find a gym buddy there where now you have a common interest, you go at the same time, you have that availability, and you have that space to actually create a bond with over time. So then you actually have a chance of creating a friendship there, versus if you go to a one-off yoga class, or you have a class pass and you're jumping from gym to gym to gym and you're not actually trying to create a friendship there. You don't have enough touch points with these people to actually build a friendship with. You don't have the opportunity to have something to bond with over genuinely. And I think if you look at your own intentions, your fears as well, those probably are also the same for a lot of other people. There are people who are just afraid to talk to others because, you don't know what someone's intentions are. You don't know if they're trying to get something out of you, if they're trying to climb the social ladder, if whatever, right? You don't know where somebody's mindset is at, and that's going to really impact you as a friend, right? If they're complaining all the time, if there's someone to gossip, if they don't really like their job, if they don't have their own lives, which if you're a different type of person, you're very ambitious, you have your own business, you have your own partnerships, maybe you have kids, right? Those people are not going to be aligned with you. So you have to look at the whole framework of which you are trying to create friendships from. What is the paradigm that you're operating in? Because again, even if you connect with somebody, doesn't mean that you're actually going to become friends with them now. Like, friendship requires that consistent effort in which both parties want to participate in. And what's going to hold a friendship together is going to be common interests, shared virtues, as well as trust. And trust is really just, is this person going to be there for you? Are you going to be there for them? Is there a reciprocal relationship here where both of you can be honest with your feelings, that you can be vulnerable with them, you can be non-judgmental? And that consistency starts with things like just showing up, right? You show up for a coffee date, you show up for their birthday, you show up for them when they need you. You show up and let them borrow your screwdriver, for example. Trading favors is one of the ways to start building a relationship, right? Is that you don't have to be afraid to ask somebody to help you with someone. People love helping other people out. It helps build trust, right? Because let's say you need to repair something, you don't have a screwdriver, you ask your friend or this new connection for a screwdriver, they let you borrow it, you return it. It shows that you're somebody who's reliable, who will give back, right? Something of somebody's, that you're trustworthy there. And now you have some type of rapport building, right? Now maybe they can ask you for a favor, right? It also opens the door up for some gratitude, right? And for some deeper connection, like, hey, thank you so much for letting me borrow that screwdriver. If you ever need anything, just let me know, right? It also allows you to be like, also, by the way, if you want to grab a drink later, I'm going to this cool place that I just found on Yelp. Would you like to join me? I think we forget so much that friendship is based off of being there for each other. People genuinely get a lot of joy, of satisfaction, of happiness from doing things for other people. Like, you might also as well. And if you're someone who is not willing to open up time, open up space for connections, for helping others, then you're also probably not in the space to build new friendships. Like, there's so much talk about the epidemic of loneliness, how we have just isolated ourselves so much, how communities don't really exist anymore, how people find it so hard to build friendships, that people are all just online nowadays and creating parasocial relationships, right? If you want to come back to the heart of a community and you look at places like Europe or China or really any other culture other than America, it is rooted in this reciprocity and this trust. And what you'll see as a common thread in these cultures that we have lost touch with is reciprocal relationship. And in turn, we have traded it for transactional relationships. This is also why people have fear and anxiety, as well as, discomfort around people asking for things or creating new friendships or building new connections, because you don't know what the other person actually wants. It feels like there's like another agenda that's there, instead of just good-hearted nature conversation or neighborly connection. And in order to move from this transactional relationship back to a reciprocal relationship, and honestly, a reciprocal community, it requires everyone to kind of be on that same page where you're wanting to contribute to something greater than yourself, right? You're caring about the well-being of a community. You're caring about the well-being of a human. And it's not just what somebody can do for you or what they bring to the table, but it's actually just about who it is that you are as a human, and being somebody who genuinely cares and wants to spread love, wants to be there for people, wants to be empathetic. So again, building off of who is it that you truly are. If you're somebody who values empathy, who values relationships, who is somebody who's naturally loving and caring, then you're going to have a really good time making friends, right? It's probably going to be a lot easier for you because you can lead with a much more open heart. You're not going to lead with so much fear or feel like you have to test people. However, you might need to work on letting other people be there for you, right? And letting other people feel like they have a deeper friendship with you. Because I know for me, one of the ways that I feel like I contribute to my friendships and relationships and add to people's life is by being able to share my perspective with them. So if they're going through something, me being able to care for them in that way, by sharing perspective, by being there for them, right? That really makes me feel like, okay, this person trusts me and we're really good friends. Versus if I'm the only one who's receiving, then I'm like, okay, well, like they might be my friend, but am I their friend? When I look at the context of reciprocal relationships, right, it's also taking into account who both of you actually are. What are your strengths? What are your resources that are available to you? And one of the examples that I'll use is one of my best friends, Swan, who is here in LA with me. We've been friends for 7-8 years now. She was one of my first friends that I met at USC. And when she came into my life, it was at a very, very pivotal time for me, where I had literally just been discharged from the hospital that I was at, and I was not in a great place mentally, emotionally, spiritually. However, we were both vegan, and we actually went to a vegan restaurant together with a couple other friends, and she was just such an open and loving person. I had like such a big friend crush on her. She was 4 years older than me. I was a freshman at USC, and she was our first year PhD student at USC. That's how we met. And with both of us having the shared value of veganism as well as good food, and both being Asian, there was a lot of good alignment there that made me want to be friends with her. And also, she had a car, which I did not. And in LA, you really need a car to get around. So our friendship really started with that, with going out to eat at different vegan food spots, going to vegan food fairs together, being part of the same vegan club, me starting this vegan club, and then her also coming to some of the events. We would cook together all the time. We would be sending each other recipes. We would meet up and cook food for ourselves as well as friends, talk about life, talk about school. She also helped me out a lot and drove me to the airport multiple times. She helped me move apartments. I remember having this feeling of like, wow, she's doing so much for me, but I feel like I'm not really giving much back to her. And I would always try to. I would always be like, oh, thanks so much for, driving me to the airport. Like, let me take you out to lunch. Or, hey, is there anything that's going on in your life? Are you stressed anywhere? Is there anywhere where I can help, lend a listening ear or, be a shoulder to cry on? Because she was always there for me. And honestly, she's just a very well-regulated person. She's securely attached, which has helped me over the years become a much more securely attached person. She has a good head on her shoulders. She's extremely intelligent. She's very loving. She has her own likes and dislikes. She has her own hobbies and interests. So it makes her a really well-rounded person, a really fulfilled person, and obviously naturally magnetic in that way. I remember having conversations with her about this too, and she would always be like, what do you mean? You don't need to do anything for me. Like, I like you just as you are, right? Like I like your energy. And you could see where, from a mindset of a transactional relationship where you do this favor for me, I want to do this favor for you. You give me this thing, I give you this thing, right? Like, it's this scorekeeping that can happen in a transactional relationship. It makes a relationship feel much more manufactured than it is actually a natural connection. When you look at how this relationship is actually a reciprocal relationship, even though how would it be fair if she's doing all these things, it seems like, right? And you're kind of just there. The reason why it's a reciprocal relationship is you're looking at each individual's capacity, right? For her, having a much bigger emotional capacity, mental capacity to hold space for me at that time, for her to have the resources of having a car, having the willingness, the time, the space, and the desire to also provide these favors for me to help me out. And then her also already having so many needs met, right? Not needing much. And potentially, like for her, really just wanting to have good conversation, to have a companion to enjoy good food with, right? Maybe even like have some exciting conversation. Maybe her desire to even feel helpful by being able to have places where she can steward her energy into, share her love with, right? That's useful for her. That is valuable to her. And so this ecosystem is much more regenerative than it is actually like giving, taking, giving, taking. Now, as I've gone on my healing journey, as I've also gone deeper into my business, I have also become a much more interesting person in myself, because not every single conversation is dominated by, how bad I feel, or how stressed I am, or how exhausted I am, or how my mom is saying this thing, or how my toxic boyfriend is doing this thing, right? Like my life is so much more full, so much more exciting. I'm doing so many things all the time, it feels like. I'm discovering so many ideas, perspectives, exciting like joys in my life because of just the way I lead my life now, with my passions and hobbies with dance and with handpan, with my podcast, with my business, with these certifications and these books that I'm reading, the spirituality aspect of my life and just deepening that. There is so much more in my life now that is bringing fulfillment and joy into my life, that has made me an interesting person, simply because I took an interest in life, simply because I took an interest in getting to know myself, because I took an interest in actually following my creative pursuits, my curiosities, my desires, my passions, my mission. And in doing so, that has led me to create new friendships who are also in alignment with those things. Friendships that I've created from, like I said, my business mastermind that I was part of, or podcasts that I have. And this is where, when it comes to building friendships, it's really about you letting yourself be yourself. And if you want to deepen your relationship, deepen your existing friendships, or you feel like it's going stale, you want it to change, you want it to shift and evolve with you as you grow, it also involves you being safe enough and feeling good enough in yourself to let these parts of you out. Because chances are you haven't let your friends see every single aspect of you. Or if you're trying to create new friendships, you're trying to start off very palatable, agreeable, instead of saying the thing that maybe is not as popular. In order to create genuine friendships and find the right communities for you that feel in alignment with who it is that you truly are and who you're growing into, you have to have your own life and be interesting on your own accord. You need your own beliefs, your own creative outlets and pursuits. Have your own likes and dislikes that you know about, that you can share about. In short, it's about being your own person so that synergy can occur with other individuals. That is how friendships can bloom, and that is how community is strengthened, by you being yourself and you adding to that community where everyone brings who it is that they truly are, their strengths as well as their weaknesses. And instead of trying to fix your strengths, it's about allowing yourself to ask other people to aid you in those tasks, aid you in those places. Communities and teams, it's always just as strong as your, quote, weakest link. And if you're wanting to create, quote, better friendships, it's going to come from these things. It's going to come from these people who have this independence within themselves to know who they are, know what they contribute and want to contribute, and then you also doing the same. You don't just create more rich friends. You don't just create higher status friends. You don't just create more mentally healthy friends. And it's not just about making friends who like the same things as you and do the same things as you. It goes beyond those things, because as much as community is a place where you can be nurtured and taken care of, it's also a place where you can grow and be challenged. What's going to kill friendships and communities are going to be things like envy, greed, fear, and hierarchy. Things like emotional immaturity, where one party cannot take responsibility for their wrongdoings and the other person fears conflict and confrontation to actually resolve issues of accountability. If you're trying to create a friendship with somebody who you think is so much better than you or so much more successful than you, and you're like below them, that's not going to work. They're not going to want to be friends with you, and you're not going to feel good enough to be friends with them. And if you're friends with somebody just because they feel like a fan, right, and they're always like validating you or whatever, where you feel better than them and like you feel better about yourself when you're with them because their life is so shitty, or they're going through something, then that's also an imbalanced relationship, and it's not a healthy relationship either. From previous episodes when we've talked about that hermetic principle as above, so below, as within, so without, and treating relationships as mirror, treating the outside world as mirrors for you, it's really being able to reflect and see your own reflection in the people that you meet. If you wanted a friend who was super rich, successful, and maybe was like a celebrity, but you're also the type of person who would brag to all your friends of like, oh, you're best friends with like Taylor Swift, and like, oh my gosh, look at you with this friend, like, and they're so high status and like whatever. Is that the type of friend that you would want if the roles were reversed? Probably not. It's not very aligned. You don't want a sycophant as a friend, and you also don't want someone to use you as like a social stamp of approval that you are cool enough or that you're in this like upper echelon or something. You want somebody who's actually going to be a friend. You're going to value things like privacy. It would take time to build trust. And you would want somebody who's very respectful of your time and your energy. And when you're able to see that and reflect that back to yourself and look at your behavior and the type of people you're letting into your life, then you're also going to have to learn how to respect yourself, respect your time, respect your privacy, be discerning in the people that you invite into your life as well. And that is also part of the key to not take these things personally, to not take friendships that fall out of alignment personally, to not take when you evolve or when somebody else evolves and you feel like you need to drop a friend or to end a relationship or to move forward on a relationship. It's going to be what allows you that emotional maturity to actually continue evolving with your friendships as you evolve and as they evolve. Now, here's the thing. To change your vibration, to bring in people of resonance with you and of where you are growing into, you're also going to have to look at your habits that you have created for yourself, both mentally, physically, emotionally. And you'll notice that the hardest habits for you to change are the ones that make you feel connected to people by being a version of yourself that you're trying to move away from. If you created friendships by being the gregarious ones at parties, always drinking, always cracking jokes, maybe even being self-deprecating, and you're wanting to work on a better relationship with yourself, if you're wanting to drink less, and if you're wanting to evolve into having gatherings with friendships that involve deep conversation and connection without alcohol, it might feel really scary because it feels like you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting all these friendships at risk. You don't know if people are going to meet you where you're actually going. And all people want is to feel seen, right? To be met at wherever they are in their journey. And the way to make these transitions out of things like drinking or gossiping or, always shopping, the friendships that come from mutually hating the same person or just like lazing around all the time, like whatever maladaptive behavior or habit that you're trying to break out of, the friendships and connections that you've created that are kind of bound in those activities and those energies and frequencies, those are going to be your growth edges where you're going to need to learn to either let those relationships go so that you don't hold yourself back, or learn to invite people into this evolution with you without taking it personally if they don't, and without trying to force them into growing in a direction that they're not ready to yet, or that they just simply don't want to. I have a few friendships from high school that has evolved over the years, where because we would run into certain conflicts, we decided that what's best for our friendship is to keep each other updated on the big life things that happen in our lives, but we also are okay with not being the first person that we go to or to share our emotions and our daily stresses. I have some new friendships or old friendships that have really resurfaced over the years. In these relationships, it's really about inviting them into this world that I'm in now, inviting them to things like sound baths or to retreats or to events, or you can think of even inviting people to have certain types of conversations with you and then seeing how they feel in those situations. I also find that things like human design really helps in knowing how to actually interact with people in a way that feels aligned to you. Because, for example, as a projector, my strategy is to wait for the invitation. And this made so much sense for me when I came into looking at friendships and how these have been certain pains in my life. If you're unfamiliar with human design, it's a cosmology system that shows you the blueprint of who you came to be. It's really great at showing you who it is that you are, your gifts, your talents, your weaknesses, where you might feel pressure, how you're motivated, your personality. It also gives you strategies, signature themes, as well as not self themes to kind of look at if you are in alignment with who it is that you are built to be. I find it a really great way to open up your perspective and give you new ways of being, giving you ways to test out what feels best to you in connections, in business, in love, and relationships. And if you find that it aligns a lot better with you, if it resonates with you, then you know that you're on the right path of being your true self. So, for example, with me, my energy type is a projector, which means that for me, my strategy is to wait for the invitation. My not self theme is bitterness, and my signature theme is success. And one of the biggest pains that I've had in my life was wanting to be part of a big friend group, but never feeling like I could achieve that. Always feeling like I was a really deep one-on-one type of person, always having really good single relationships with people, but these people would be in different friend groups, for example, or I would have a birthday party and I would invite like 20 people, but only 6 people would show up or 4 people would show up. And it would be the same 4 to 6 people pretty much. And I remember when I was younger, I would make those things mean like people didn't care about me, or these people weren't really my friends, or, there's something wrong with me, or like, why can't I have these things that somebody else has of like a big party, a big friend group? And then I realized, oh, that's also just my energy type. It's what works best for me. I found that things like initiating invitations weren't my strong suit. That's not what was in alignment for my energy. What's in alignment for me is for people to recognize me, my gifts, my talents, my value, and then want me to be part of their life or to help them with something, and for me to help guide them in some way. When it came to friendships, it was literally like feeling like they recognized me, saw me, and wanted me in their lives by inviting me in. What made me feel very bitter was consistently inviting people to things, giving them the benefit of the doubt, giving them grace, putting in effort in relationships that didn't feel like they genuinely wanted to be part of, and letting those go. Not because they're bad people, not because I think that they don't like me, but because it's obviously not in alignment. And for me, knowing that in those relationships, I can be open to receiving invitations from them, but I'm not going to be the one to initiate. I really only initiate these invitations to people who are my close friends. And even then, I find that it feels really good. And even then, I find that what feels really nourishing to me is when my friends on a one-on-one level or on a group level invite me to hang out with them. Now, projectors are also only 20% of the population. Most people are going to be generators and manifesting generators who have their own life force energy, who are here to actually create things and build. So just know that if you're a generator or man-in-gen, you are definitely more built to be in these larger group scenarios. You're not going to feel as overwhelmed by them, and you'll be able to feel more grounded in yourself. If you're interested in knowing more about your human design, all you need is your birth time, birthplace, as well as birth date. One of my favorite websites to use is myhumandesign.com. You don't have to pay any for anything. You can look up all of the results that you have to go deeper into understanding those things. And if human design resonates with you as a system, just know that I also use it to help bring people into alignment through my one-on-one 6-month coaching program, as well as my single sessions. When I'm taking into account somebody's human design as I'm guiding them, it's really to help them see what strategies are in alignment for them and what is not, why they may be feeling out of alignment, and also how to guide them back into that signature theme, whether that's success or satisfaction or peace, and help them clear out the things in their life that are creating their not self theme, things like bitterness or frustration or anger, so they can go back to feeling like their true self and actually utilize their energy in an efficient and aligned way. The last thing I'm going to say about friendships is actually going to be about investing, because when I look back at how I was able to create the friendships that I have now, I really needed to have invested in myself. And whether it was my parents investing in me going to USC and me applying myself there so that I could find these friendships that were on a similar mental wavelength as me, who had these critical thinking skills that I enjoyed, who weren't partiers. None of my friends really drink that much. None of us are into like drugs. We're really just like a bunch of foodies, lovers, creatives, as well as deep thinkers. Like those are my type of people. Not only was there an initial kind of investment to be in those spaces, to be in those environments, but also the investment in myself to be able to mentally, emotionally, spiritually be in a place to receive and give the type of love and reciprocity required to maintain these relationships over the years. Same thing with the new relationships that I've created as an adult outside of college. It was me being able to invest myself into certifications, programs, masterminds, and these groups in which I could meet like-minded individuals who had common interests, common goals, and also thought at a higher level than some people that you would meet randomly at an event somewhere, for example. I really invite you to be discerning about the environments in which you're trying to meet people, and really reflect on if these spaces are the type of spaces that you genuinely want to be a part of and that feel aligned to you. If you want more guidance and support into building aligned friendships and communities for yourself, then I invite you to apply for my one-on-one coaching program that's out now. It's 6 months one-on-one that includes hypnotherapy, life coaching, as well as spiritual guidance. Applications close July 5th, and we start the week of July 8th, going all the way until the week before Christmas. I only have 4 spots available, and this is the only time in 2024 that this is going to be open. So it's a great time to get in. And also, when you get into this round of one-on-one coaching, it also includes a ticket to my Soul Whispers retreat that's happening at the end of this year. So if you want to talk about finding aligned friendships and community, that is the place to do it. I know I have created such deep soul friendships with people that I've met at my own coaching masterminds and my certification programs, who are people who are doing this type of work to develop themselves, be their best self, to be non-judgmental, and to deepen their spirituality. So I really love being able to create this experience now for my people and for people who are interested in things like soul whispering, to meet in person and to connect IRL. So friends, with that said, until next time, listen to your soul whispers and stay well.